Welcome to Wrestling Around News. It's a different host this week, different voice for the news channel. There's just two of us here at the moment. It's myself, Terry Peters, but I'm joined by my illustrious guest, Lew Markham. Lew, how are we doing?
Good. I think I should be presented as the ever-present Lew Markham.
Yeah, you are ever present, actually.
Always here. Yeah. You
my,
can't get rid of me.
my attendance record would have got me excluded from school if we were at school.
Where's Ross?
Where's Aaron?
Just me. I mean, to be fair to Aaron, he was the only person ready on Friday when we were meant to record this week.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be ready for the last 2 weeks.
So let's give him some credit for that.
Yeah, we'll give Aaron an attendance mark as well.
He's been waiting 3 weeks to record NWO Sold Out.
Yeah.
Which is coming next week.
For now. We've called an audible for Wednesday's episode. We're going to be watching the Royal Rumble of 06 match, and it's a watch-along. Do you remember much from the 06 Rumble?
I remember it all. It was just as I was getting back into it. I really remember the Roman theme.
Yeah, I was going to say the theme was brilliant. I don't know. Did I watch I must have watched the Rumble.
And seen that mad entrance where it came in on the spaceship.
Were Mania and the Rumble, and then if anything else looked a bit good during the year. That was about it. But yeah, we're looking forward to that one on Wednesday. So join us for that. I'll watch along. It'll be myself, Lew, and Ross is meant to be joining us as well. No Aaron, unfortunately, on that recording. But next week, we will be doing Sold Out as well. So finally, if this is what you've been waiting for weeks on end, it will be back. But we're here for the news, and we're going with AEW. On this channel, we've knocked it quite a lot. I think that's fair to say. However, this time, we're not knocking it as much. We are going on about the contract. So this week, it's come out that a number of people could be potentially leaving AEW. You've got the likes of Lio Rush, Joe Janella, potentially Anthony Ogogo. Have we just seen as well?
Well, I've just seen on WrestlingNews.com. I imagine they didn't report it. Oh, it says they did. No, WrestlingNews.com. Sorry, that he's turned up on Progress Chapter 127 this afternoon. As we record this on a Sunday, it's coming out on a Monday, obviously. And the world was Progress. It was the first Progress event under the new management. I believe Simon Miller's the host now, isn't it? But yeah, Trammy was Lee McAteer and Martin Best. But interestingly, considering that apparently he is still contracted to AEW, although I don't think he's been around for a long time, this show is going to be on the WWE Network from Saturday the 6th of February. So is Anthony Ogogo technically the first wrestler to cross the forbidden door?
Is he the man that's coming out of the Rumble this Sunday?
I doubt it.
Have you got any ideas who that could be?
No, I'm going to say something really stupid because everyone's going to listen to me. It's not fucking him, obviously. I just have a sneaky feeling for whatever reason that it's Okada.
That'd be brilliant. That'd be absolutely brilliant. I don't really have a feeling it would be Moose. Probably has been heavily rumored, which I'd be a fan of, to be fair.
Yeah, someone from Impact would make sense with Mickey
He
James.
Was a surprise entrant, and that, I suppose, Forbidden Door as well, wasn't he? The World of Sport Forbidden Door that I've just made up now. We have confirmed that he's been on that show on this podcast before.
Yeah, but
I think Moose personally.
Yeah, I guess it could be someone from Impact because there is kind of Mickey James is out there. Apparently, going to Fightful Select this afternoon, the Iconics have turned it down.
I suspect it still leaves a bit of a bitter taste after what happened with them splitting the only women's tag team up in a women's tag team division,
and then releasing them both. Yeah,
releasing them both.
I know that we can say now.
I get it.
Yeah, we can say now because Ross isn't here, but it was a ridiculous decision
to split them up or to release.
To split them both. To be honest, I guess I think one led to the other. Especially now when the women's tag team championships are basically dormant because there's no teams to challenge from.
Who are the tag champs at the moment? Is it Zelina Vega and Carmella? I mean, what is that as a team?
But who's going to challenge them? Because they're only challengers who they beat them, who they won them off for Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH.
And isn't Nikki ASH just turned on Rhea as well this week on Raw?
So there's literally nobody.
Yeah, it's. Unless we may see some formed in the Rumble this Sunday, potentially.
You might think there's something, but apparently Impact would have signed it off, but then they decided not to.
I don't blame them.
Fightful Select saying they've heard that they're not the only two who've been contacted.
But
the last 2 years of releases.
Matt Cardona, because he's doing big
he did
stuff
tweet something about he would go back if the money was right, didn't he? Something.
I don't blame him, because I think that's always been his dream, hasn't it? I think, and he's worked hard at his time away, hasn't he? He has worked hard at his time away, so I don't blame him, to be fair. Personally, I don't see anybody from AEW, unfortunately, as great as
maybe it could be someone from GCW, because Jeff Jarrett, who's at GCW tonight, I think it is tonight.
Was he at SmackDown on Friday?
He was on SmackDown on Friday, yeah.
Potentially. I mean, again, that'd be great, as long as it's not Jeff Jarrett himself.
It could be. He's done that. He's done that before.
Oh God, he has, hasn't he? We'll find. Oh my word!
I think they just for the surprise entrance, the Hurricane's there.
What year did he go into the Hall of Fame, Jarrett? Because that was the year he came in, wasn't it?
It was. Was I there for it?
Was it 19? Or was it 18?
It was 18 or 19, I think.
One of those, wasn't it? But he was certainly in the Rumble that year. But yeah, the Hurricane's not a bad shout. He tends to be.
He's a backstage agent now, isn't he? So I'm pretty sure he was in it last year, because
he tends to be fairly consistent. Yeah.
So they threw him in.
He tends to be fairly consistent in those sort of things, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But what we're going to move over to, well, we're going to break down the Forbidden Door here. AEW releases. As we said at the top of the show, a couple of names, Anthony Gogo, which we've discussed, potentially at Progress. I'm going to move on to Lio Rush, a man that's been there since the Battle Royal, which is around June time. Is it June, the Casino Battle Royal?
I don't think he's even been out that long. It was there's more than many Battle Royals that they have, wasn't it?
Let's have a look. Casino Battle Royal AEW 2021, because it was the same night that Ruby Soho turned up, wasn't it?
Was that when he debuted?
Yes, that's when she debuted as well.
Yeah.
Let me have a look. Double or Nothing? Surely it wasn't May. Let me just.
No, I feel like he was in some sort of special Impact one. Not Impact. Dynamite one.
Let me have a look. No, May. Yeah, Double or Nothing, May 21. Yeah. He appeared.
So that is a. Yeah, Ruby Soho was all out. Oh, yeah, because it's the men's at Double or Nothing, women's at all out. Yeah.
So.
And his contract apparently expires
in February.
Air quotes, heavy air quotes there.
Yeah, I mean,
he has signed a 9-month deal. Does that sound realistic to you?
Personally, I don't get Lio Rush. I've never got him. I think he's got some arrogance about him, and I don't really understand where it comes from. He's great on the microphone and he's good in the ring. He just seems to have a bit of an attitude problem, doesn't he?
Well, he's not been on. He's not been on TV since he called out Tony Khan on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't. It's to me, it's one of those, isn't it? I understand why he's done it, but I don't know. It's difficult to say, isn't it? What's gone on there? We'll never know the conversations. I think. He's definitely leaving. I don't personally see him going back. I think he's probably burnt his bridges now. I don't see him going back to WWE either. I probably see him retiring for the 4th time.
Yeah, just have Monetary Funk now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just find it a bit weird that I think he's been given the boot.
Yeah, but I think he's covering it up as they've probably given him like
there must have been I reckon there must have been a break clause in there, because a 9-month contract. So why would anyone sign that?
I wonder if they've given him a month's notice, not announced it, and they're going with his contract expires route. But
hopefully someone does some digging, but no one seems to be.
I wonder if more will come out of this when he gets his release, when he is released, or his contract expires, I should say. I think there is plenty more to come from that as a story in general. I don't think it's as clean cut as it's made to be from what's going on there at the moment at AEW.
No, I think we're honest. I think Dave Meltzer does his big show on a Sunday night normally, doesn't he? So by the time this comes out,
we'll know.
We might know a lot more.
What we've said is right or wrong. We'll have to wait and see. Because another name that's being linked with a release from AEW is Joey Janella, a man that's not, I don't think, done a lot on AEW. Not that I watch it week in, week out, but his name doesn't seem to be mentioned on the whole compared to other people's names. He is an original of AEW, I believe. He did join at the start of the company. And I think there's a couple of people that could fall under the sort of same bracket as him. When you look at the originals, that could just be expendable. Is it expendable? Is that
I feel like he's been relegated to dark, hasn't he?
Yes.
But and he's not done a lot. He's been kicking off on Twitter a bit recently. I think someone said that he's trying to ask, like, is it Gabe Sapolsky, who was in WWE until he got released? Or that's where he thought he was going to go.
Yes.
And now maybe he's bent too many bridges because he had to go to MLW, didn't he?
Yeah, who have been trying to see
WWE.
Who have been trying to sue WWE this week as well.
Which is ridiculous. But
it's
anyway.
Stupid.
But yeah, I think he was one of the first ones who, like, even 6 months ago, even longer, when people were saying, like, who's going to be the first person to jump across to WWE from AEW, he always comes up. Him and, like, I guess Brian Cage.
I was going to say Brian Cage is another name.
Action.
He's another name that seems to do the rounds and always seems to be linked with the list. I mean, just looking at it as well, I could see maybe a Kip Sabian going personally.
Yeah, again, no, he's not done a lot.
He's been injured, to be fair to him, which hasn't helped, obviously. But again, an original, I think, whilst he's fine, I don't think he's at the level of the other people that have now brought in since AEW started, since he was signed. Is it Marco Stunt as well? There's been a few questions over him.
Yeah, I can't see him going to WWE or anything. I feel like what happened was
I mean,
AEW they padded the roster out when he started. They padded the roster out with a lot of guys, so they had like the top guys, like the Elite, Jericho, goes padded them out, and then I don't think nobody saw it. I don't think AEW saw anyone like the amount of people that WWE would release, because at that point it was almost an arms race, wasn't it? Like AEW and WWE were basically hoovered up the entire indie scene to the detriment of like places like Ring of Honor and stuff.
And Impact to
an Impact to who watches Impact now. But and then WWE like released a load of guys, and AEW, these guys are kind of better than what we've got, so we better sign them as well.
I agree.
And now they're at a point where they're just going to release a lot of people. But I guess in some ways it could be good for the indie scene, because there's a lot of people that being on TV.
I think it will rejuvenate things that need to be rejuvenated as well. Because I think another person that could potentially go is Matt Hardy. And now Jeff's a free agent as well. I think they could go around and do a very interesting tour potentially.
Yeah, I would rather they did that, to be honest, than
released Matt Hardy. Or
I'd rather they did like a farewell tour like on the Indies.
Yeah,
rather than in AEW.
I think they can go where they want when they want, then, rather than do something for a promotion where only one of them's been, and as a tag team they've never done anything. Personally, I think that would be better for.
Well, there was a weird storyline on Dynamite this week where Andrade bought the Hardy family off. I don't give a fuck about my Hardy storyline, but he's bought his family. It's not his family, but
they just bought his kids, wife and kids,
his faction or something. And he he's presented as millionaire, could have bought anything, and he buys a bunch of jobbers off Matt Hardy. It's like,
I mean, again, Matt Hardy, I understand he was like one of the first big releases he signed, wasn't he, when he was released by WWE, and I do understand why they did it. But again, just going back to what we've said then about, you look at the names that they've got now, is Matt Hardy up to that level in 2022?
No, I don't think it's weird, because he voluntarily left WWE when his contract ended because he wanted to do the broken stuff. Because Vince was like, this isn't working, like, just be the Hardy Boys. So he left there to do it in AEW, and then Tony Khan told him the same thing after a couple of weeks, and he went back to his big money Matt. I guess he wouldn't have done in. He was only ever going to be a nostalgia actor to WWE, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Same with the Dudleys, isn't it? Like,
yes.
Did you even know the Blu-ray existed when they arrived for that year?
The thing is, I think if he'd have gone to Impact, he'd still be broken. But I think now, I don't know if it's limited a little bit, the broken gimmick.
It's just done, isn't it? It's been played out. Like, I mean, it was kind of a meme.
It was brilliant at the time.
It was, yeah.
It was fantastic at the time. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not taking that away from Matt Hardy. But I think when you've seen the final deletion, personally, how do you go on from something that is called final?
Yeah. Well, they did the Ultimate, didn't they? And then they did the tag team Apocalypse, or whatever it was.
Well, there you go. Then there's another ending.
And then they had this thing with Bray Wyatt, didn't they? Which almost kind of dragged Bray Wyatt down more than it raised Matt Hardy at the time. But
yeah, I mean, I get that. I kind of get why they tried that as a thing, because character-wise, they are both similar, like almost that psychoticness about them, just willing to do anything to get the win. I got that as a team. Did it really work at the time? No. Would it have worked somewhere else? Potentially could have worked somewhere else because.
But then, yeah, when he came into AEW, he just kind of he got involved with like the Inner Circle and the Elite.
He debuted, but with a drone, didn't he?
Yeah, he's on the side of the Elite, wasn't he? And yeah, and it just felt like he shouldn't be in the main event at that point. It was just like, yeah.
And then there was obviously that horrendous thing with Sammy Guevara as well, where
it's not been a great run, to be honest. It would be a cautionary tale if I was a WWE legend looking to move across. Just take my money from WWE. It's fine, honest.
News-wise, I think more will be coming soon, personally. Just not necessarily those names that we've mentioned, but I think there's already maybe a couple of rumblings of people going in AEW.
Yeah, it's just they're letting the contracts expire, which I guess is a normal thing to do. If
you can't.
People, it's difficult, isn't it? Because someone might think I've got a bit of momentum. Let me go now, whereas being off TV for 6 months.
What I wonder is, are they going to be more loyal to the people that sign with them to start with? For example, a Joey Janella, and let him use his full contract, compared to somebody they've signed halfway through who they could release at any point in the contract.
I don't think they release anyone else before the contract, just because of the PR thing of like they've been on the offensive, AEW, with like how ridiculous it is that which was stupid at the time. I think we all said, because they would get to that position. You know, they're going to one day act like a proper company. But I think
it's going to happen.
I don't think they can just they're never going to do like a mass releases that WWE.
No, I don't think you'll ever see them do mass releases.
You know, the odd person just like disappears here and there, isn't it? Like obviously there's Big Swole, and that all kicked off.
Yeah,
December, like Leo Rush now.
And was it Kylie Ray as well?
Yeah, after 1 week or something. She was really quick, wasn't it? And then Peter Avalon, was he the librarian? He's gone.
There hasn't been many, has there? And I mean, fair play to them for honouring the contracts and things. However, I think AEW has grown a lot more than anyone could have ever imagined by this point.
Yeah, and they're still signing people, aren't they? Like Brody King just turned up.
Yeah.
And
I do wonder, genuinely, what the finances of that company are like, because there's going to become a point where they become oversaturated as a company as well.
Yeah.
And surely they're getting very close to that mark.
You think so? Like, you imagine... It's just because they just love that surprise thing, isn't it? Now, like, anyone can turn up, which is like cool, but it's going to be lower diminishing returns. Like, I mean, you know, when Johnny Gargano eventually turns up in like a month's time, whenever it is, like, it's going to happen probably.
Yeah, he's
you know, is anyone going to care? Is that as big as Adam Cole or Brian Danielson?
People will care about that, I think.
But like, you know, I'm into the same level. It's like they keep relying on surprises too much, and at some point, it's going to have to stop. They're going to have to just kind of actually do storylines and stuff.
I understand what you're saying on that one. I do understand. We've obviously got the Royal Rumble this weekend.
Yes,
we've got one. Well, we'll have had the Go Home Raw. We've got the Go Home SmackDown. Anything notable happen from last week's Raw and SmackDown? We've had Lita turn up on Raw. Was that last week before, for the first time in 20 years as well?
Well, apparently they said that, but then the marvelous Ross Tweddell, I think it was, reported that she was on the first SmackDown on Fox in 2019. Just everyone forgot it at the same time.
Dear.
Yeah.
Dear. And that's the thing, I suppose. It is one of those things, isn't it?
It is, because it's just WWE say stuff with such confidence that you just believe them.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? And that's
like, first time in 20 years, that doesn't sound right. But say about Raw, I ain't going to believe it. But SmackDown,
but she was always on Raw, so many years of being the B show.
I was just like, yeah.
She was always on Raw, wasn't she?
Yeah. Like that time Evolution were on SmackDown. It's the first time Evolution have been together on SmackDown.
Yeah, it's mad. It really is mad. Just switching brands as well slightly. Apparently, they're not happy with NXT 2.0.
No.
And the ratings. Whether that improves or not, I don't know. Whether they rethink things, I don't know. I've not watched any of it. Obviously, Braun Breaker's become a standout, I would suggest, on that brand. However, I've watched promos from somebody like Von Wagner, and oh my word, he's awful.
It's back to full-on developmental again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which, I guess in some ways, it's like, if it was a WWE Network show, fine, that's kind of what it should be.
But to have a TV deal and really strip it back to what it used to be, I think.
But then also, I guess the counter argument could be, and this is probably what Vince McMahon was saying backstage, is like, I think the audience that NXT was meant for, of all kind of, it was almost like the cool alternative to main roster WWE, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then kind of AEW just came in and like took that niche and like,
yes,
beat him on Wednesday nights, more people watching, and it's weird now that I find it really weird that the kind of that the wrestling journalists and wrestling fans are like, oh my god, like NXT sucks. What have you done? Where the kind of people like cheerleading AEW over NXT for the past like 2 years.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I can kind of see why they're changing it, but I can also see why if it was just a hardcore few watching it, because it was they were averaging about 700,000 now then to 500,000 views in America,
something like that. It's not a lot, is it?
You can kind of see why, because it was kind of all very sudden. They would have been better just taking NXT off or putting NXT on a net. I don't know. Like they bought Evolve for this reason, didn't they? That shouldn't have been. Didn't they do like a few NXT Evolve tapings that never made air?
And that's it. Like you say, they've obviously gone about it ass overtaking classic WWE fashion, where they've done too much too soon for me. Yeah. And I think you've now got guys like Tommaso Ciampa with his dyed beard, even just little things like that. You know who he is. You know he's got a great beard.
Well, he's got an elbow injury, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah, apparently so. He doesn't look menacing as what he used to with the grey beard. Yeah. Just have a quick look while you're there. But they've also now got guys like Pete Dunne on main event as well. And you've got to be thinking, surely they can't be far off the main roster because they're incredible talents. However, you've got previous NXT guys like Ricochet not really doing a lot on the main roster. And it's just like, for those guys, how must they feel as well from being like the top of the card to go into a B show, a main roster B show?
Oh, he does look a lot younger, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does look a lot younger. it doesn't suit him personally, I don't think.
I think it looks. I mean, he's only like mid-30s, isn't he?
Yeah, but it looks too forced-eyed.
Yeah, that's. I feel like before he was like all man champion, and that was his gimmick.
But I think that added a bit of realism to him. I'm gonna say that's my only thing.
I think he'll be a potential. I think there's going to be a few call-ups in the Rumble. I think. But yeah, I kind of like the idea of NXT being a developmental in a way.
It's gone back to its roots, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's gone back to its roots. I think the only thing is like some of the developmental ideas are just a bit shit.
It does feel very Vince and Bruce Pritchardy, doesn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah, which again, I'm not completely against. Like,
I think that shows with another bit of news that we've totally overskipped from NXT.
Yes. I think we should just get. Fuck it, let's just go there now. Let's go to fucking Gunther.
Gunther.
Yeah.
Gunther Central Perk. No, just Gunther. Yeah. Wow. Just wow. Not the fact it's changed to Gunther, what the original name was going to be.
Yeah.
Which, incredibly short-sighted. They've obviously known it. They've definitely known they was somebody famous because they wouldn't have picked that name out of the blue.
Oh, no. So apparently he meant strong, didn't it, in German? Like, I don't think they intended to. Because I don't think it was a famous Nazi, is the argument. We're going there. I think they should have Googled the name. Like just someone just stick it into Google.
Double check.
See what happens. Yeah. And then, so that part was like, they should have done. But to be fair, call me a WWE bullock or whatever. It never made air. So I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like if there wasn't some wrestling journalist Googling trademarks, we might never have known. We might have just seen Gunther, and people would have still got annoyed at Gunther. That's fine. It's weird because he's been NXT UK champion for 2 years as Walter, but at the same time, Walter's a bit of a. I said it in our group chat, didn't we? And I think Walter's not a great name anyway. So
I remember when I first heard of Walter without knowing who he was, didn't find it an intimidating name, and then you see the man, you think, oh my god. Yeah,
so I think it'd be the same. Like if he was always Gunther, and then I'd change it into Walter. Everyone would be like, WWE, what are you doing? Like
the problem,
Walter. It's like Walter from the Beaner.
The problem for me is because he's been NXT UK champ for so long, he's been on shows. Yeah. I do think that WWE have thought, well, he's only been on a couple of American pit shows. They won't remember him as Walter. We'll just repackage him, and they won't know who he is, and everyone knows who he is. So. I don't know, but I mean, I hope it doesn't ruin him. I don't think it will because I don't
think it will. As long as the fans kind of like don't start, chanting Walter like, "Oh, I'm not going to cheer for him at all," because like
I think his in-ring skills will keep him
Yeah, I don't think it'll matter. I genuinely don't. Like, look at all the outrage. Like, and not even people like, Tyler Black becoming like Seth Rollins and stuff. But I'm old enough to remember when Cesaro was called Antonio Cesaro.
And Alexander Rusev.
Yeah, and they lost the first name, and it was, oh my god, it's a disaster. This is the worst thing ever. Like, no, does anyone know is it Cesaro by any other name?
As long as they don't add him a second name, I think Gunther is. Well, it's not scary. I think if you give him a second name, it's a little bit of a mockery. That's the only thing, because it's such an out there name as it is.
Yeah, it's not even German or Austrian. It's just a name. It's like being called George.
Central Park. Gunther Central Park. That's what he's going to become.
Well, I thought that was what the outrage would have been if it wasn't for the whole Nazi thing.
I think if they'd have picked another name, I don't think it'd have been as bad. Sorry, I've just stabbed myself in the leg with a cocktail stick.
Outstanding.
But I don't think it would have been as bad. I think it's just lack of research on their part, personally.
Yeah.
I think because of where he's from, with him being Austrian as well, it's one of those things that you maybe need to just do a little bit more research in. Just a Google. Just
a quick Google.
That's all you need to do.
Would have been fine, especially because you know what wrestling fans are like. Like, there's, I'm not going to name names, but there's certain wrestling journalists who are just determined to get offended by some of WWE does, and they just give them up and goals like all the time, don't they?
I've not read their Twitter for a while, but I can only imagine.
Oh, not Sidgwick, the other one. David Bixens's fan. It's even worse than Sidgwick. It's like Sidgwick on steroids.
I don't know who that is.
Don't. Your life is better on own.
Don't worry. But yeah, so I think with that, I understand people's upset, but I'm prepared to give it a go. Will he make an appearance in the Rumble? I really hope so.
Yeah, I don't know actually.
And will he be still with Imperium?
Well, he's still with them now, isn't he?
Right.
He's still,
okay.
Yeah, he's still with them. They all helped him in his attack Diamond Mine afterwards. So in some ways, I kind of hope he's not in the Rumble, because he won't be in there long enough for people. Everyone will be, you know what I mean? Like, just he'd be better off doing a bit in NXT and then coming up after Mania. I
would love to see Walter versus Brock Lesnar in the Rumble.
Because whoever Walter gets,
big boy,
whoever he gets eliminated by, it's just going to be disappointing for people, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I won't bother putting him in there
unless he goes and wins the goddamn thing.
Yeah. Speaking of surprise appearances,
I think it's going to be a very, very interesting couple of weeks at WWE.
God, that's long enough I thought. Speaking of surprise appearances,
which leads me on to the last point for the news, I would suggest. Raw getting beaten in the ratings by Dynamite.
Fuck off. We're not doing this as a news story.
This happened? Hey, I'm here as well. It's Ross. How are we doing?
Yeah. Ross is here.
No, it didn't happen. They got beat in the fucking demo.
Fair enough.
Okay. Yeah, like we're not being wall culture. We're not doing it here.
That's fine.
They got more numbers. Raw got more. I had this argument with someone, right? They were like, "Oh, how can you say WWE is more popular than AEW?" It's because more people watch it. And I was like, I don't care how old they are. More people watch it. And he's like, that's not popularity. I was like, it's literally the definition of popularity. Right? It's literally what it is. More people watch it, therefore it's more popular. It's no bad thing.
I don't understand this demographic thing. Right? I'm not in advertising, never have been, never will be. It's not my thing. But if I was to, let's say, this podcast, and I wanted to advertise this podcast, and one's got 2.1 million and one's got 1.3 million, don't care if all 1.3 million are in 18 to 49. I'm going to pick the one that's got 2.1 million.
Well, it depends what you're advertising, though, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason, like when you watch Channel 4 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's all like Stairless and that, and like
but like, Charlie, like the big advertisers, like Coca-Cola or something, I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah, I think it depends who you're aiming at, but they are right in the ratings. It's like, for some reason they do it by 18 to 49 at the moment in some charts. I don't know.
It seems like a hell of a big rating. You know what I mean? Scale.
Okay. I always find as well what's really strange is that I just don't believe that like there's 1.6 million people watching Raw, and there's 1.1 million people watching Dynamite, for instance. I believe that. What I don't believe is that like literally a million of each of those are like fucking old people. I can't imagine some 70-year-old. Let's sit down for Monday Night Raw. And like, especially NXT, where it's like, isn't it like only like a quarter of its audience is in this 18 to 49? Like, I just don't believe that there's a bunch of 56-year-old blokes.
I was going to say, how do they count the youngest? Because they don't own their own house.
Yeah, it's just you do it like a diary. Man. I know,
but how can you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
how do you count that? Because surely if you're like 13, you're watching it. It was. Is it a family of 4? How do they know who's watching what?
I think they have like a diary or something.
It was a diary.
Like you have like certain. It's only a sample.
I was going to say, not all 1.8 million.
No, it's just a sample of people, and they multiply it.
Right. Okay.
So that's why there's variation. Sorry. I said we weren't going to do this, and I've been at the longest.
Never done it.
That's all right. So we'll just have a recap of the news then. So we've had a look at AEW's releases or potential releases. We've had a look at NXT's failings and WWE's unhappiness. Gunther and Lew's rant about
and Anthony Ogogo opening the forbidden door.
Oh. Progress, isn't he?
Yeah, which is on the WWE Network. Ross. What?
Hosted by Simon Miller.
Oh yeah, what is this? A crossover episode?
Yes.
Oh, one more thing before the news goes off, actually, that I wanted to say. John Moxley was back on Dynamite this week, which you love to see.
Yes.
Yes. Side note, which I wasn't going to mention, but I just remembered that like both Seth Rollins possibly accidentally and then Pat McAfee very deliberately about 3 or 4 times referred to him as John Moxley on SmackDown this week.
Did Rollins say me and Mox held you up or something?
Yeah, but then McAfee was going on for ages like, it's a different Roman. It's a different Seth. It's a different Moxley. They're all doing their own thing. He kept going on and like,
imagine
you could see Cole just going like,
forbidden door.
He's not on our show anymore. Just shut the fuck up, yeah. But what I wanted to say was like, Bully Ray said like some stupid comments to me about like how he should apologize to the fans for like going away and treating his alcohol problem. So yeah,
what's his beef? He's upset that somebody's
it's this whole fucking old school mentality of like, oh, you just got to kind of man up and like not deal with your problems.
Puts me right off the old school mentality because how many legends are dead?
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to say that like anyone with any kind of issue that they're kind of having difficulty speaking up about, then use John Moxley as an example. It's not nothing to be ashamed of. It's the right thing
and do not listen to Bully Ray.
Yeah.
People are out there who want to help, aren't they? Nobody wants to see anybody go through that.
That was all. It really wound me up.
Fair point.
It is, and I'm glad to see there is a big generation gap, and it seems that we'll stick to wrestling, but I think in genuinely people, the younger generation seems to be wanting to look after themselves a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
This whole man up thing winds me up. I hate anybody who tells me to man up. I will stab them in the face. That's how manly I am. But I hate the phrase "man up." I hate it with a passion.
Yeah.
So if anybody is struggling, then it's good to talk.
Yeah, like Moxley did. And they should be applauded for that, not chastised.
And he kicked the fan out.
He did, yeah.
Some heckler. Don't know what the heckler said, but fuck the heckler.
Probably Ray.
Was that because they're good at that AEW? I know. I haven't been here that long. So I don't know how you've been on for. They're good at. They kicked out like a homophobic fan or a transphobic fan, didn't they?
Yeah.
The transphobic one, is it Nyla Rose?
Mm-hmm.
They're good at that AEW.
Yeah. Whereas like in SmackDown, there's a guy with a "Let's Go Brandon" t-shirt in the front row all day.
This is why I don't like wrestling. Like Chris Benoit was trending. The people still argue the fact he should be in the Hall of Fame. No, he shouldn't at all. Yeah. So I was like, you need to separate what? No. Do not need to separate what they did because there was 3 people there, right? And one person made all the choices.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to get sidetracked to that. But
I'm going to clickbait the title of this podcast now. Like, should Chris Benoit be in the Hall of Fame?
No, he should.
No, he should not.
Christ.
So that was the news.
Good episode, I've heard.
Yeah, it's really
it was banging. So join us on Wednesday for the watch along of the Royal Rumble 2006 match as we prepare for the Royal Rumble of 2022. Lou, thank you for joining me on the news.
Thank you.
Ross, you just were here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you on Wednesday for Royal Rumble 06.